Hey there guys, this is Clement from the Graphic Tech, and this is the part 2 of my Node Mailer course. And this is probably the final part. And just to reiterate, the whole point of this is to prompt the user to enter a name, an email, and a message. And when the user clicks the send message button, it should send to an email, like the email of the website, which I'm going to provide in the node mailer. Just something you can easily incorporate in your website. So, going on, I already created a server.js file in the previous tutorial, and I routed to my contact form file over here. And this is the file I'm going to primarily be working on. And I have already installed Node Mailer, so I'm going on to start writing my Node Mailer code. And if you go to the Node Mailer documentation by just typing Node Mailer here, and you go to www.nodemailer.com, and this is the Node Mailer website, and you see the instructions. We've already done this, so we are just going to be going to this part. You can see that we have they require they first require a node mailer, then we can skip this node mailer test accounts thingy. They define a transporter, and this is what they call create transport, where all the details of the emails enters. Well, I'm going to be describing this. It's really short, as you can see. I'm going to be describing this in detail right now, so you can go through the documentation for more information, but I'm just going to go ahead and just follow their instructions here. First of all, we need to create our transporter, so I'll say const transporter equals okay, before I do that, I obviously will need to require node mailer, so I'll come here and say node mailer is equal to require in brackets apostrophe node mailer, and I'll do const transporter, basically just because it transports our message, so they call it transporter. And I'm going to say node mailer dot create transport, and just to make this code more readable, I'll just say I'm going to define transport here, saying const transport, and passing transport here. Transport. Yeah, so I'm going to have my transport code over here, and transport here will be equal to an object, and this object, according to the documentation, takes in host, port, secure, auth, and it takes in a couple other things that for some reason are not here, but also are equally as important. I think if you go deeper, you see the other stuff I'm talking about, but let's still go on. Yeah, so right now I'm going to be using my own personal host, but you can use Gmail, although it's not advisable to use Gmail for product when you want to ship your website to production, because there's this thing Gmail has about less secure applications, so it probably rank to it won't really be won't be a really good user experience, because they keep on telling you that your app is not secure, this that. So I strongly encourage you not to use Gmail in your production application, but to use the SMTP for your hosting service, be it GoDaddy or whatever, or HostGator or something. So in my own case, I'm using Hugo Host from Nigeria, and my SMTP for Hugo Host is weaver.hugohost.com, And after taking in the host, the next one is the port. And I don't have any SSL, if you don't have any SSL, the ports for this my Google host is 26. Yes, you have all this detail in your hosting service when you have gotten your host, your domain, and everything. All these will be provided. The SMTP, that's this host, and the port number. Everything will be there for you, so it's not a problem. And since I don't have not using SSL, I'll use secure, and this will be a boolean called false. It will be the other way around if I was using SSL. And auth, this is the next one, and this auth will take in your user name, the username you want to do the sending with. And for this, I'm just going to do a config. I'm going to create a config file for this, just so I can pass this, I can require it here. And I encourage you not to write your password here. Please don't write your password here in the open. Always get a config file. It's the best, really. So that when you are pushing this document to something like GitHub or Bitbucket or whatever, your code won't be, your password won't be visible for others to see. So I'll just go ahead and create the config file in my root directory, config, and this takes in a file called config.js. And this file is going to be a simple file, nothing much. It's going to export, do module.exports, and it's going to export an object, and this object takes in our user, or you can call it its any name of your choice. And I'm probably going to cut the remaining part of this video, but just so you won't be able to mess up with my with my account. But here, what goes on is your user email, which is user at test.com, for example, and password here is the password to your account, which could be password 123. Yes, so this is the then you, after doing this, you'll probably have to you now require config here, const config is equal to required my config file, and I'm going to move up a directory because I'm in contact form right now. Moving up a directory, I'm going to config, and inside the config directory there's config.js, and in this auth object where the user is, I'm going to pass in config.user, and in the web password it's going to pass in config.password. So I'm just going to pause this video, and I'm going to change my user and password to something that that will actually work and won't just be a test. So I'll do that right now. So I have actually done that. I've changed my user and password for my config.js file, and I'm just going to close this. So going on, I have the user and password I'm going to use for my message sending. Then I'm going to go ahead and there's another object called TLS, and this object, this TLS, it's important because we are going to be sending this message from our local host, and sending it from our local host. We're not actually sending from the domain, so we're going to get rejected if we don't pass this key here called reject unauthorized. You can see it's already shown right there, reject unauthorized, and this is false. We're going to set this to false because so that it will not reject us, since we are unauthorized people. So we're setting reject unauthorized to false. In production, this will probably be set to true. Yes, so just for development mode, so this is good. This is good enough for development. So yeah, this is all good. And what we're going to do is we've created a transport. Then we're now going to verify that what we have here can send the email. So it's actually good. You can send the email without this verification, but just so you know you're on the right track, so you don't have to try a billion times. So I'm going to say transporter, right? This transporter constant we have here dot verify. This is uh, a method that takes in a function. I'm going to have an Esx function, and this R function takes in two arguments. Error, that's for if the verification returns false, that okay, what the details you entered in the user and password cannot send this email. And success, yes, be sure right now it's WCWS. So yes, and I'll say if error, if there's an error in our verification, I'll say console.log error. So we send it to our terminal here. And else, that's if there is no error and we can send successfully, I'll say console.log server is ready to take messages. Yes, so I'll just comma success, passing our success variable. This success is actually a boolean, and it returns true if it's successful, and obviously since it's in else block, it will always return true. So okay, this is that. So now we want to set up our post route, and remember in the contact form.html we put the method here post, which is very important, and the action is send. This send is actually our route that we're going to that we're going to post this form to. So in the contact form, after verify, we'll set up our route. We'll say app.post bracket /send, comma, then we'll write ES6R function, request and response R function, just to keep the code nice and modern. So yeah, and inside here we're going to have we're going to get a list of things like let and node in nodeJS, when you post to when you send a post to a particular link here, you have and you have body parser where it should be, which is over here. We are able to have access to our rec.body, and this rec.body, okay, just to make this code nice and modern, I'm going to do what is called destructuring, and it's an ES6 addition, and this destructuring just gets just different data from a particular object. So now this rec.body has the name. It's going to have the name, and it's going to have the email, and it's going to have the message. So yes, this is good enough. So this is just basic ES6. I'll be releasing a JavaScript ES6 tutorial very soon, so just watch this space. And I'm gonna now set up my content, and my content is going to be a template string, where I'll say I'm going to create a HTML content here. So I'll have a h1 tag. Oops. H1 tag here. Yeah, you can do h1 tags here. You can do HTML, and I'll write an order, or a message rather, just came from, and the name is going to be, since we're using backticks, we have access to this name Yes, name. Messages came from that name, which is passed in our contact form. Name, and I'm gonna say this name has an email of $sign again. Open and close. Oops, what the hell? Okay, let's take this far away from this. Then like this, an email of um, email. Yes, that's good. Then yes, then we go to the next line of code, and we can just set up a h2 tag saying what the hell. This can be a bit quirky sometimes. Pardon me. Oh, okay, I know what's wrong. It's this extra bracket. Okay, so we have a h2, and that says here is the message. Yes, and we have then we have a p tag where the message lies. A p tag, and we also have our dollar, since this is a whatchamacallit, it's a template string, and I'll write message in between. So yeah, our content is done. Now all that's really left is to set up our mail. Then I think okay. So we'll go to the other line, and after this we'll say let mail equals, mail is going to be what's going to be it's like a set of instructions they're giving the way the mail is going to be formatted, and it's going to be from, and who is this mail going to be from? Let me just say from the Graphic Tech, my company. Let me say what am I gonna say here? I'm gonna use my email. It's from Deba. Deba is my other name at yeme.com.ng. Yes, so yeme.com is my host name. So it's for a different project. Okay, so this is from. Then to will be who will this be to? Look, I'll send this to my other email address just so we can see this work. Deba Oswide cl@gmail.com. Yeah, that's my other name, Deba Oswide. And this I'm going to set a subject. Yes, and all this is going to get parsed into your mailer when it's sent, and subject is will be equal to new message, or let me just use backticks, more modern. New message from, and this will be the name of the person sending the message, which was provided by the contact form name, right? Yeah, good. And then next be HTML. There's also text, but since we're sending HTML, I'll say HTML, and I'll say content. I'll pass in this content variable I formed here into this. So yeah, and then what's next now? Now we have our mail set. All that's left to do is to send it, and we'll go here and say transporter dot send mail, and this will be mail, comma. This send mail is as a method for sending the mail, and this, remember, this transporter, it's what was created here. It's what we used to create the transport. I'll leave the code at the end of the video and the description. So this second argument takes in an Esx function, Esxr function that return that basically this is where we'll be sending our response, and we'll say if there was an error, right? If this did not send, I'll say res.json just to send a JSON to the screen, And in real world application, probably you'll be using a template engine like EJS or handlebars or React even. Although React is not a template engine, but most React is actually very common. And in the future, I'll be teaching you guys React. But for now, this is just for you to understand NodeMailer basically. So I'm just gonna send the JSON that says message fail if there's an error. Else, if there is no error, it's going to send to the screen a JSON that says message your mail has been sent. Or instead of me saying write the JSON, let me just send to the screen. Um, let me just send to the screen something else. You can send a HTML page here, but just for the sake of time, I'll just send a string saying failed to send your message. And here I'll also do the same thing. I'll say send instead of sending a JSON. And I'll say your message has been sent. And probably if you have more time, you can create a HTML page and link to this. But for now, this is good for our needs. And just so we can see what we're sending, I'm going to console.log data. Alright, so everything is all nice and modern, and we have a really well, it's looking pretty good for now. And I think we have everything down. Yeah, I think everything is good. So I'll just be running this. I haven't run this since the beginning of this part 2. So I'll just say nodemon, and I'm running my server.js. Let's see, do we get any errors? It's watching. Okay. App started on 3000, and let's look. Yes, server is ready to take messages, and it has a true here. And this is coming from our transporter.verify, and the transporter.verify in our contact form. If there is no error, it sends our server is ready to take messages, meaning that we can send with this. So now the next step is just to test it out. So let's go to our contact form. Let's reload this page. Yes, everything is good. So I'll just go to my own I'll go to my own email at gmail.com. And remember, I passed my email address here that I want to receive the messages on. It's a Gmail account. It's not the same as the message, the one that he wants to send the message, which is this user with the password. So and to I'll just go to inbox. Okay, inbox is open for the meantime. So I'll just be expecting a message. I'll say this is John Doe. My name is John Doe, and my email is johndoe@gmail.com, and the message is this: I need your services. You know, just like any basic form. And I click on send, and let's see what happens. And we see here your message has been sent, meaning that we have a success. Let's go to our email, and you can see a new message from John Doe. You can see the let's enter this. See that the name of the sender is John Doe. You can see everything is in HTML. This is a H1 tag, so it's pretty big. We could also add some styling, but just to save time. A message just came from John Doe. Here is the message, and this is the message. So it's everything is working very fine, and we see that we have the email here where it's from. So I need your services is the message. So everything is working fine, and this is how to use NodeMailer. And see, we actually console.log our data at the end of sending the mail, and you can see all the data we have. You can see that the message is accepted. You can see the message size. We got a string, a response string. We got a from and a to. So it's from deba@yemen.com.ng, which is my custom email address from my domain yemen.com.ng and to deba@gmail.com. So this is the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. That really helps. So this is the end of the video. Have a nice day.